My family nicknamed me Mud Girl for years. At 11:25 p.m. on New Year's Eve, Dad bellowed into the phone. "Where the hell are ya?" I replied evenly. "Did the family like my present?" "My name is Blair Harrington, I'm 29, and I run a high-end ceramic business out of Phoenix. To the Harringtons of North Scottsdale, Arizona's most powerful real estate family, I've always been the failure who plays in the dirt. For years, I listened to them tell me I'd never measure up to my CFO brother or my perfect real estate attorney sister. They thought I was oblivious, a dreamer wasting my business degree on mud. What they didn't realize was that for 4 long years, I had been discreetly watching every single dime they tried to hide from me. And that one innocent-looking box, delivered at 11:25 p.m. on New Year's Eve, changed everything. It all started 12 days earlier. My mom's text popped up, "Come home early, Blair. This party will be the biggest yet. Everyone from the shore to the canyons, I need you." It was the first time in years she'd sounded so desperate for my help. I sat in my studio, surrounded by half-glazed faces, hoping this was it, a sign that things could finally change. So I packed a small bag, wrapped the obsidian bowl I'd painstakingly carved for Dad, and climbed into my ancient Jeep. The drive to North Scottsdale always felt like crossing into another world, the desert sprawl giving way to gated fortresses and manicured golf courses. Even from the long gravel path to their estate, the New Year's Eve preparations were in full swing, crews hanging lights, massive tents rising on the lawn. It wasn't just a party, it was the Harrington family's annual show of power, attracting the wealthiest and most influential people from all over. Rosa, our housekeeper of 15 years and the only true warmth in that house, greeted me with a hug that felt like coming home. "Miss Blair, look at yourself. It has been too long." Her silver cross necklace was cool against my cheek. She always had a way of making me feel seen. She told me Mom was out back, coordinating. I walked into that massive, chilly marble foyer. Everything screamed wealth and control, abstract art, a copper chandelier that probably cost more than my annual rent. I clutched the bowl I'd made for Dad, hoping he might finally appreciate the weight of the clay I'd thrown myself. Mom, of course, was exactly as I expected. No hug, just a quick, appraising glance. "Blair, you made it." Then the first blow. "Guest suites are ready in the East Wing. Your previous room is being renovated into a home gym." That room. My room. 18 years of my life, my terracotta walls, my first crooked pottery pieces. Now just space. I swallowed the lump in my throat and tried to focus. "Mom, I brought something for Dad." She barely glanced at it. "He's in his study with Robert and the others. If you must interrupt, make it brief." Her tone was cold, businesslike. As I approached the study, a sliver of lamplight spilled out, along with hushed voices. I raised my hand to knock, but Dad's words stopped me cold. "Blair needs to confront the reality. Her mud pastime earns her only a few $1,000s per month, if that. We are doing this for her own good." My breath hitched. I froze, the bowl suddenly feeling like lead in my hands. Through the gap, I saw them. Dad, Robert, Mom, and my sister Meline, all gathered around a financial expert I didn't recognize. His briefcase was spilling with spreadsheets. Robert, already half smirking, murmured, "It's perfect timing." New Year's Eve, a packed house. Dad delivers his speech about family unity. Then we pivot. Show her the projections. Her studio versus an entry-level marketing position at Harrington Properties. 82,000 base, perks. She signs the relinquishment directly in front of everybody. Dad nodded, his fingers steepled. "Exactly. The intervention is scripted. Kathy, you handle the emotional aspect. Express concern for her future. Make it sound like tough love." Mom, ever the actress, leaned forward, her voice just gentle enough to sell the lie. "We'll admit we've been worried for years about her wasting her business degree on crafts. But we're here to help her get back on track." The advisor cleared his throat. "Based on her apartment size and lack of visible assets, she's financially insecure. She makes no more than $42,000 a year. Compared to corporate stability, she will see reason. Furthermore, the trust transferred $31.5 million into the Cayman vehicle by the end of the quarter, protecting the main holdings from instability. He looked at Robert. You don't want her suing for a bigger portion when she finally wakes up. Meline laughed, sharp and bright. Oh, please. Remember Thanksgiving? She shows up in her thrift store kaftan, discussing her glaze firing schedule like it's a board meeting. If we don't intervene now, she'll bring the whole name down. The Whitman girl just made partner at her firm, and our sister's finger painting pots are on Etsy. My kneecaps buckled. I squeezed against the wall, the bull pressed to my chest like a shield. They weren't just dismissing my efforts, they were erasing me. The relinquishment meant signing away any claim to the family trust, the one Dad had promised would be divided equally when we all turned 30. And the Cayman transfer? 31.5 million siphoned away right under my nose because I chose Clay over contracts. For years, I'd sensed something was off about Dad's evasiveness regarding estate planning. This wasn't protection, this was theft, disguised as safeguarding against the daughter who dared to create instead of close deals. Dad's voice dropped, colder now. Once she signs, we proceed quickly. Rosa clears out the old room that night. Tools, sketches, everything goes into storage or donation. No more half measures. She either commits or goes away clean. Glasses clinked in agreement. Meline even raised hers to new beginnings for all of us. Heat swamped my face. A roar rose in my ears. The bowl slipped from my numb fingers, thudding softly on the rug. I caught it just in time, but the sound was enough. A chair scraped inside. Panic. I couldn't face them, not now, with the truth burning holes in my chest. Silent as a shadow, I backed away, past the kitchen where Rosa buzzed, oblivious. My bag was still by the front door. I grabbed it, flung open the massive oak doors, and stepped into the cold desert night. My Jeep's engine roared to life, propelling me back towards Phoenix. No goodbyes, no explanations. Just the sound of tires on blacktop and the heavy, wrapped dish on the passenger seat, a symbol of their deceit. I pulled over at the first rest stop, my hands shaking too much to drive. The engine ticked as it cooled under a sky full of stars. I killed the headlights and finally let the tears fall. Lauren picked up on the second ring, in the middle of the night. Blair, where are you? I could barely speak. They're cutting me out. Publicly. New Year's Eve. She didn't waste time with comfort. Explain exactly what you heard. I choked out every word, the disinheritance, the 31.5 million, the gym conversion. Silence on her end. Then, you still have the forensic files, right? For years ago, after Dad misplaced some trust paperwork I needed for taxes, I'd quietly hired a small accounting firm in Tempe. They'd been sending me copies ever since, bank transfers, shell company ledgers, even emails between Robert and their advisor. 68% of the puzzle was already in my safe. Lauren's voice was firm. You're 50 minutes from the studio. Get home. We finish this. I wiped my face, restarted the car, and merged onto the deserted interstate. When I rolled up the metal gate, the warehouse district was utterly still. I turned on the work lights. The studio, usually bustling, was lined with empty shelves, pieces shipped weeks ago. A single kiln still radiated heat. It smelled like silica and success, not defeat. I kicked off my shoes and walked straight to my office corner. Behind a stack of clay slabs, my safe. The combination clicked, the doors swung open. 3 hefty folders, 3 encrypted drives, and a printed chronology, highlighted in red. I spread everything on my large work table. Bank statements showed transfers beginning 18 months ago, always on Fridays, always routed through the Cayman Islands. Emails from Robert. Make certain Blair never sees these. A draft trust amendment with my name crossed out in black pen. I opened my laptop and pulled up the studio's actual numbers, the ones my family had never bothered to ask for. Last fiscal year's gross, $940,000. This year, with private commissions from Dubai, London, and half of San Francisco's tech wives, we were projecting $1.62 million. I'd kept it quiet because I didn't need their consent. The clock on the wall showed 3:26 a.m., 9 days until the party. 9 days to cover the final 30% of the gaps, tie up loose ends, and package everything in a way they'd never forget. I brewed coffee strong enough to strip paint and started making calls. Quiet ones. My forensic accountant answered on the first ring. He'd been waiting. A tax attorney I'd met at a gallery opening owed me a favor. By morning, I had appointments scheduled and a discreet delivery service hired for December 30th. I stood in the center of the studio, the morning light streaming through the tall windows. To them, the shelves might look empty. But every missing vase, every sold-out collection, had paid for the evidence now strewn across my table. They wanted to prove I was broken? I was going to prove the opposite and bring their entire house of cards down with me. The decision settled in my chest like a perfectly centered lump of clay. No more hoping for change. No more questioning my worth. They had drawn a line in the sand. I was going to bury them in it. The next morning, I was already in Mason's downtown office. My tax attorney, sharp as ever, laid a fresh legal pad on his glass table. "Show me what you have." I emptied the folders and drives. He whistled low. "You weren't kidding. This is a federal lawsuit wrapped in a bow." We spent 4 hours cross-referencing every transfer. He highlighted the missing pieces, 2 wire confirmations and the signed amendment page that locked me out. His paralegal pulled them from public records before noon. By 2 p.m., the binder was 218 pages thick, tabbed, highlighted, and notarized in triplicate. It now included 3 encrypted USBs, 1 master, 2 backups. Mason leaned back. "Are you sure you want to deliver this on the 30th, 11:25 sharp?" Just before the countdown, I confirmed. He didn't argue. Next stop, a custom wood shop in South Phoenix. The owner owed me a favor. I sketched a design. Black walnut, blind dovetails, brass hinges. The Harrington crest laser-etched on the lid. The interior, black suede, a recessed compartment for the binder, a velvet tray for the drives. He promised completion in 6 days and a discreet, white-glove delivery on the 30th. I paid cash. Back at the studio, I opened the group chat I'd kept since college. Lauren, Jordan, Isabel, Nolan. They were the 4 people who never once called my work a hobby. I typed, "I need the Red Rock house in Sedona for New Year's Eve. 12 of us max." Lauren shot back, "Money is no object. You already booked it last month when you mentioned leaving your family." "You're welcome." Jordan sent a champagne emoji. Isabel found the VRBO link. Nolan simply wrote, "We've got your back, constantly." I hired private chefs, a mixologist, and a local band. The house had a heated infinity pool overlooking the canyons. I paid the entire sum up front. No cancellations. Night fell. Under the buzzing warehouse lights, I sat at my glazing table, holding a single sheet of heavy cream stock and my beloved fountain pen. I wrote slowly, deliberately. "Billy, Kathy, Robert, and Meline, you've spent years telling me I'm never enough. Tonight, you'll realize how much enough actually costs. The originals have already been submitted to the IRS and the family trust attorney. You're holding copies. Happy New Year. There will not be another one for me. Blair." I blotted the ink, folded the page, and sealed it with red wax, impressed with the same crest that would be burned into the box lid. I walked the studio one final time, running my fingers along the cool racks. The kiln ticked, cooling after its final test firing. Every tool was in its place, every surface scrubbed clean. The studio had never looked more ready. I placed the envelope on top of the binder, closed the suede flap, and secured the prototype box the woodworker had delivered that afternoon. It weighed exactly 13 pounds, heavy enough to feel like judgment. For the first time in years, my hands didn't shake. Each step had fallen precisely where it needed to. The clay was centered, the walls were drawn up, the rim polished clean. All that was left was the flames. I switched off the lights, set my alarm, and walked out into the warm desert night. 9 days seemed like plenty. New Year's Eve. Back at the house on Cactus Road, the desert mansion shimmered like a mirage against the black, starry sky. A convoy of black SUVs and white Rolls-Royces crept up the driveway. Valets dashed between cars. A crimson carpet stretched to the towering bronze doors. Inside, the air hummed with controlled chaos. The DJ, flown in from LA, dropped a remix that made the crystal chandeliers tremble. 3 bars flowed: vintage champagne, aged Japanese whiskey, neon flashing cocktails. Women in liquid gold and midnight sequins swirled across the acrylic floor over the infinity pool. Mom glided through the crowd, her gold gown catching every strobe, diamonds scattering light like paparazzi flashes. She laughed too loudly, touched too many arms, repeating her mantra, "Biggest party we've ever thrown. Everyone who matters is here tonight." Dad held court in the cigar club, promising first-look offers on Dubai and Vegas projects. Robert worked investors, his voice slick, eyes hungry. Meline posed on the grand stairs, phone held high, diamond choker flashing. An 82-inch screen dominated the far wall, displaying drone footage of the mansion at dusk. The countdown clock beneath it showed 11:24 p.m. Then, the front doors opened one last time. A messenger in a tailored black suit and white gloves walked in carrying a single object, a black walnut box with sparkling brass hinges and the Harrington crest laser-etched dead center on its lid. Security waved him through. The vendor code was pre-approved. He placed the box on the white marble console and bowed once before disappearing. Mom noticed it immediately. Her smile sharpened. "Oh my goodness, everyone look. Our tiny Potter has finally remembered us." She clapped her manicured hands, as if she'd just won something. "Blair sent a gift." Phones rose in a wave. She carried the box to the center of the living room, heels clicking, and placed it on the ottoman like a trophy. Meline grabbed the thick cream ribbon. Probably another lopsided bowl to hide in the guest bathroom. She yanked. The lid lifted with a soft, magnetic sigh. Charcoal suede lining. A cream envelope sealed with red wax. A black binder, 218 pages thick. 3 matte black USB drives nestled in velvet. Robert rolled his eyes, already half drunk on victory. $10 says it's a sob story video, pleading to come home. He grabbed a drive and inserted it into the media hub beneath the screen. The drone footage vanished. The room lights automatically dimmed for the surprise presentation. Page 1 filled the wall, crisp 4K wire confirmation. The Grand Cayman account holds $31,500,000. Page 2. Email thread titled Finalize Removal of BH before December 30th. Page 3. Trust Amendment with Billy and Robert's signatures, bold blue. Page 4. IRS Form 211, Whistleblower Acknowledgement. Stamp received. The music continued for 5 seconds before being cut off. Silence came down like a guillotine. Meline's scream broke through it. "Oh my God, we're screwed." Her champagne flute dropped, shattering into 1,000 crystal pieces on the travertin. She stared at the screen as if it would bite her. Mom took a step back, her gold gown suddenly too tight. Her kneecaps buckled. She hit the ottoman corner with a dull thump. Someone shouted for ice. Dad stood frozen, his face the color of printer paper, eyes fixed on his own signature, blown out 10 feet wide. A vein in his temple throbbed, looking ready to burst. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Mason had created a 45-second loop specifically for this moment. The screen cycled automatically. Account names, transfer dates, the advisor's notes, the line that read, "Submitted to Internal Revenue Service, Criminal Investigation Division." A tech millionaire in the back said, "That's felony stuff." His wife already had it all recorded on her phone. Robert lunged for the remote, tripping over Meline's discarded heels, sending it skittering across the floor. He scrambled after it on all fours as the loop continued. Guests took a step back, creating a perfect circle of judgment. Meline turned towards the nearest exit, blocked by a wall of tuxedos and sequins. Every phone was aimed at her like a weapon. Her mascara began to fall in ugly black rivers. Mom stirred on the floor, gasping, gripping Dad's ankle. He finally found his voice, raw and raspy. "Turn it off. For the love of God, turn it off." A staff member yanked the drive, but it was too late. The film had already been uploaded to 34 private stories and one very public Dropbox link. The countdown clock reached 11 hours, 59 minutes, and 40 seconds. Nobody moved toward the terrace for the $48,000 fireworks display. The desert wind rocked the 42-foot glass walls. 80 of Arizona's most powerful people stood still, watching the Harrington Empire crumble in real time. 2 hours north, beneath a different sky, I raised my glass to the moon and waited for the phones to start ringing. My phone started exploding at 11:56 p.m. Just 4 minutes before their world turned upside down. I was standing barefoot on the warm sandstone patio of the Sedona villa. Red rock spires glowed blood orange under the moonlight. The infinity pool reflected 1,000 fairy lights. Our private chef had just finished serving caviar spoons and gold leaf-dusted chocolate spheres. The mixologist was free-pouring 2009 Cristal into vintage coupe glasses. Meline's name came up first, her 5-year-old bikini yacht photo contact ID grinning back at me. I let it ring. Voicemail. Robert followed 30 seconds later. Same fate. Mom's call next, her Botox-enhanced smile from some charity ball frozen on the screen. I just watched it pulse on the teak table. Billy's name appeared last. No photo, just Dad in all caps. I swiped, tapped speaker, and held the phone up so everyone on the terrace could hear. Lauren, Jordan, Isabel, Nolan, and the rest of our 12-member chosen family formed a loose semicircle behind me, champagne flutes halfway to their mouths. The roar that emanated from the speaker almost blew it out. Blair, you insane, ungrateful little. He used words I'd never heard from him before. The terrace fell silent, except for the faint beat of the band inside, warming up for the countdown. Someone behind me let out a harsh, triumphant bark of laughter that echoed off the canyon walls. Mom's voice crackled, high-pitched. Baby, please pick up. Please come home. We can call it a hoax. We can fix anything. You're still our daughter. Meline shrieked, raw and wild. You're envious and talentless, and you've just ruined everything we fought for. Robert tried the methodical approach, his voice quivering with barely controlled terror. Every major corporation in the country is already writing cease and desist orders. You will be in federal jail by the spring. Billy returned, colder now, the businessman trying to bargain. Name your number. 12 million? 25 million? Whatever it takes to make this vanish. I waited until the commotion on their end ran out of air. The wind from the canyon carried the scent of juniper and freedom. I brought the phone closer to my mouth and spoke slowly, clearly. Listen to me, because this is the last time you'll ever hear my voice. The Harrington family perished the instant that box was opened. Not wounded, not asleep, but dead and buried. I saved every transfer, every email, every bogus page. The IRS possesses the originals. Your partners have the copies. There is no negotiating table. There is no fix. There are no more daughters. No more sisters. There is no longer a safety net. You are now strangers. And strangers do not get second chances. Mom cried incoherently about grandchildren she'd never meet. Meline screamed I'd burn in hell. Robert threatened to reveal my studio's finances, as if I had anything left to conceal. Billy tried one last time, his voice trembling. You will regret this for the rest of your life. I smiled at the moon. No, you will. I ended the call. The screen went black. I turned the phone off completely, pried out the SIM card with my thumbnail, and tossed it into the infinity pool. It faded with a faint plink, absorbed by the turquoise light. Lauren's eyes shone as she handed me a fresh flute. The band leader counted us in from behind the glass doors. 10, 9, 8. We shouted the numbers together, our voices echoing off cathedral rock. At 3 a.m., our special pyrotechnic team detonated the first shell. The sky erupted in gold waterfalls, violet chrysanthemums, and red hearts that grew and dripped like slow fire. The canyon sides turned molten crimson, then gold, and finally white. Nolan put both arms around my shoulders, yelling something cheerful I couldn't understand over the thunder. Isabel plunged into the pool, her sequins flashing like fish scales. Jordan's drone captured everything in 4K, with no audience except us. I raised my glass to the explosions above and drank until the bubbles burned my throat. The champagne tasted of victory, oxygen, and the first day of the rest of my life. Much later, when the fires in the outdoor pits had died down and the others had gone inside to rest, I remained on the terrace alone. The canyons were silent again, ancient and unmoving. I leaned against the warm stone railing and murmured softly into the darkness, a whisper only the desert could hear. Happy New Year, Harringtons. Enjoy the consequences. 5 months later, the first certified letter from the IRS arrived on the marble console in the foyer of the Cactus Road home. The return address, U.S. Department of the Treasury, Large Business and International Division. Billy signed with a nervous hand. Inside, a notice of insufficiency for $31.5 million in undeclared offshore income. Penalty, an 80% fraud assessment, plus compounded interest. The sum total, $23,980,000 and change. Payment deadline, 100 days. 18 days later, the Dubai Sovereign Fund terminated their joint venture. A single-line email. In view of current regulatory concerns, we are withdrawing. The Vegas group followed suit 48 hours later, citing reputational risks. 2 projects, totaling $460 million in potential earnings, vanished overnight. Robert served as CFO for 11 more days. The board held an emergency session and voted him out unanimously. Security escorted him from the building with a banker's box and his Harvard diploma. For weeks, his LinkedIn profile remained set to open to new opportunities. Meline's spouse filed for divorce that same month. His counsel submitted the Cayman trust documents to the court, arguing half of the undisclosed funds were marital property. The judge froze all accounts in her name for forensic tracing. Country club memberships expired. Her Range Rover was repossessed in the club parking lot while she was having lunch with women who now pretended not to notice her. Mom's social calendar became a graveyard. The charity galas she chaired removed her name from invitations. The Phoenix Art Museum's board quietly accepted her resignation. Text chains became silent. The only notices she received were, so-and-so has left the group. Her daily tennis foursome ended without a single phone call. Grandmother Haley, even at 91, sat ramrod straight in her leather wingback when she summoned the 3 of them to her ranch in Paradise Valley. She slid new estate documents across the coffee table. Billy, Kathy, Robert, and Meline were listed on a single line, purposefully deleted. Everything, including the ranch, commercial holdings, and foundation, was transferred to distant cousins and 3 animal rescue charities. Haley's farewell remarks were straightforward. You attempted to take from your own bloodstream. Blood remembers. The house was put on the market 6 weeks later. The listing photographs featured the same marble console, infinity pool, and red rock views, but it was now priced 19% lower than comparable properties. Buyers flocked like vultures, offering lowball prices because everyone in town knew. Billy's silver hair turned white. Mom started taking Valium at lunch. Robert moved to a 2-bedroom condo near Camelback and stopped answering the door. Meline flew to a wellness center in Costa Rica and never returned. The Harrington name disappeared from new construction cranes. Old signage was taken down. New letterhead was printed without the family crust. The empire didn't crumble in a single night. It bled out slowly, publicly, and cruelly, with the desert remaining silent throughout. By the end of summer, I was on a one-way flight to New York, carrying 6 crates of greenware in the cargo hold. Years of quiet grinding had failed to accomplish what the scandal had. It put my name in places I'd never paid to be. A modest show I'd done in a Phoenix warehouse the previous winter, consisting of 14 pieces and open by invitation only, resurfaced on every art blog from London to Seoul. Headlines that formerly read, Harrington heiress exposes family fraud, now had second lines, and she is one of the most intriguing ceramicists working today. Emma, the director of Gallery Ver in Soho, sent an email 4 weeks after the article broke. Subject, we'd be honored. She flew to Phoenix the next day, toured my studio in 5-inch heels, unconcerned about the clay dust, and immediately offered an exclusive 3-year deal. Rent for a bare loft, 3,450 square feet on West 26th Street, was covered. When I arrived, 2 gas kilns, a slab roller, and a ventilation system that would ordinarily cost a fortune were already installed. I moved in September. Every morning, the Hudson sparkled outside the floor-to-ceiling windows as I threw the first new forms of my existence, free of a surname I despised. Collectors who had previously ghosted me now begged for waiting list seats. Museums sought loans. My rates tripled once, then again. None of it felt like vengeance. It just felt like gravity was finally acting in my favor. On a dreary November afternoon, a certified envelope arrived at the gallery counter. Return address, a law firm in Scottsdale. Sender, Billy. The receptionist signed for it. I recognized the calligraphy on the front, still immaculate and haughty. I didn't open it. On the 28th, I walked to the post office, scribbled denied. Returned to sender, in black marker across the seal, and deposited it back into the system. That was the last time any of them ever contacted me. Winter arrived early. On the first big snow day, I prepared the new 48 cubic foot kiln for its initial firing. Tall bottles with shattered desert glazes, gigantic platters in iron red, ash-white bowls so thin they rang like bells, all 44 pieces. I set the program to cone 10, closed the heavy door, and clicked start. The elements flashed orange through the peephole. Outside, snow reduced the city to silence. Inside, the kiln screamed like a silent dragon. I poured a single mug of coffee, stepped to the window, and watched snowflakes fall over the Hudson. For weeks, my phone sat on the sill with a dark screen. I picked it up, held down the power button until the apple appeared one more time, and then turned it off completely. There would be no ceremony or speech, only the faint click of a chapter shutting forever. The kiln surpassed 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. I remembered everyone who had ever told me I was wasting my life in the mud. I remembered the little girl who used to hide in the pottery shed behind the mansion because it was the only place nobody followed. I thought of the woman standing here now. The studio paid for. Concerts sold out until 2030. Names on waiting lists not inherited. And I realized the only truth that matters. You don't need their table now that you know how to build your own. You don't need their praise, since your work speaks louder than their money ever could. You don't need their affection, once you've given it to yourself. The kiln beeped. Cycle complete. I opened the door hours later to see perfect shelves of fire-kissed clay, stronger, harder, and more beautiful than anything they had ever touched. I grinned at the glow and whispered, to no one but everyone, this is what happens when you stop asking to be let in and instead begin burning the door down. That was the day Blair Harrington vanished for good. So, tell me, have you ever faced a moment where you had to completely walk away from people you thought were your family? Or maybe you've built your own table from scratch, just like I did? Share your stories in the comments below. I really want to hear them.